Hi, Glenn.
Hey, Kim, how are you?
I'm well. How are you? Thank you for coming. This is Simple Politics. Kim Wehle, my friend and guest, once again, Glenn Kirschner, MSNBC legal analyst, longtime former prosecutor. I know you have a lot going on, and so I'm really grateful that you took some time out to explain the situation to our viewers tonight.
Yeah, and perfect timing because the impeachment trial, I have to go with the air quotes,
Thank you.
just wrapped up. Yeah.
So let's just get to it. What stood out to you today in terms of, I'm going to say air quotes, evidence? I mean, I've been on record saying, listen, we need actual witnesses. I'm not sure that's going to happen, but I do think the impeachment managers did a good job in pulling out some themes that have not been really making the airwaves, even within Washington, in terms of how to process January 6th. So what did you think?
I thought it was a remarkable, powerful, emotional presentation. Every single House manager, the sort of prosecutors in substance, each and every one I found to be so persuasive, so concise, so organized. You know, they mixed in video footage and tweets of Trump, and it was a seamless performance. You know, I tried not only lots of murder cases, but I tried multiple RICO cases in federal district court in DC. The longest one I tried was a 6-month trial. And that was a brutal experience, a great experience. But as I was watching the presentation today, I was reminded of what an 8-hour trial day feels like when you're prosecuting cases. And I'm sure they're all exhausted. It was nice that there were so many of them, but it drove home to me that Donald's guilt it's proved beyond a reasonable doubt. The judge always instructs a jury that you never have to find out to a mathematic or scientific certainty. It's just beyond a reasonable doubt. I think we are all certain of Donald Trump's guilt of inciting an insurrection based on what we saw today over the course of some 6 or 7 hours. The question becomes, will that move 44 Republicans? I'm guessing the answer is no. I'm hoping that maybe the Democrats, maybe Justice can pick off another few, but it's really hard to understand how they could watch that presentation today and not conclude that Donald Trump is guilty and ought to, at a minimum, be banned from ever serving in public office again.
Yeah, so just so people understand, this is not a criminal trial with proof beyond a reasonable doubt. His liberty is not at stake. That's why these due process arguments are really silly. This is about basically some kind of an NDA or some kind of a contract or an agreement or a penalty so he can't get in office again. It's a job personnel sort of decision, really, by the United States Congress. But I thought today, and I want to ask you this, having been a local prosecutor, do you think there was a case made for an accessory to attempted murder of the Vice President of the United States, Mike Pence? It seems like were really pushing this narrative that, listen, Donald Trump was out for Mike Pence. The crowd was out for Mike Pence.
Yeah.
They were saying, hang Mike Pence. After that started, Donald Trump tweeted, he's a coward. They showed video of him being ushered out of the office with his family. They noted that, listen, this was a patriot. They used the word patriot, the Democrats. Mike Pence trying to do the right thing and doing the right thing. And many people were, sort of framing it like this mob was out for bloodlust for Mike Pence and Nancy Pelosi.
I don't think Donald Trump is an accessory to the attempted murder of Mike Pence. I think he's a co-conspirator in the attempted murder of Mike Pence. I think he's got direct conspirator liability. And, everything Donald Trump said, the law basically says that you can infer somebody's intent based on the sort of natural and probable consequences of their words and their conduct. Donald Trump obviously set this up to be a violent attack on the Capitol. And he did it, Kim, from a platform of fraud, which is why people, when I hear people say, oh, it's so difficult to prove criminal intent, I did it for 30 years. And I never once had an MRI or a brain scan of the defendant that I could show the jury and say, oh, there's the intent right there on the x-ray. No, we infer intent from words and conduct. Everything Donald Trump did in the run-up to January 6th signaled that this was going to be an armed attack on the Capitol to do what? To stop. That's an action word. Stop what's going on inside that building. Get down there and stop it. You take the word stop, an action word, a command by Donald Trump, and the word steal. He's launching the attack from a platform of fraud, which provides the criminal mens rea, the corrupt intent. Donald Trump is guilty. And halfway through today, Kim, I was so frustrated and so angry when I saw all the evidence, what Donald Trump did to every single person in the U.S. Capitol that day, from the vice president to the janitorial staff and everyone in between, that I tweeted out, you know what? I don't even care what the outcome of the impeachment trial is. He needs to be criminally investigated, indicted, and tried for these crimes. And when Merrick Garland is in place and he gets the Department of Justice up and running and he clears out the rot that was installed by Bill Barr and Donald Trump, I have faith and confidence in Merrick Garland. Listen, this is a guy who cut his prosecutorial teeth in my old office, prosecuting guys like Marion Barry, the former mayor of New York. Merrick Garland is the guy who got his domestic terrorism bona fides by overseeing the investigation and prosecution of the Oklahoma City bombing case. This is a guy who does not stand for public corruption or domestic terrorism. And that's what Donald Trump is. He is the marriage of public corruption and domestic terrorism. And I am confident Merrick Garland and company are going to get after them.
So you think we're really not just witnessing an impeachment trial for abusing office, but a criminal trial for serious, serious crimes that could put a regular person in jail, which kind of makes sense, you know, logically when you see the five deaths and the bludgeoning, Glenn, of the police officers. The fact that 4 hours went by and he didn't do anything to send reinforcements. Can you talk a little bit about that whole thing?
I can.
How are we supposed to take in after Black Lives Matter and, you know, this police officers versus crowds, these police officers, it's just a stunning moment to watch the heroism and how they were so abandoned.
Yeah, and I worked with the Capitol Police as a prosecutor in DC, and I worked with all of the alphabet soup law enforcement agencies. And what I don't know people appreciate is that there are so many law enforcement agencies available to the executive branch, available to the president. I mean, you can rattle off the FBI, the DEA, the ATF, the U.S. Park Police, the U.S. Marshal Service, the Federal Protective Service, there's Amtrak Police and Postal Police and Smithsonian Police, and I mean, it goes on and on and on. There is only one police force available to the legislative branch, the Capitol Police. All of those other police agencies I just rattled off are executive branch police agencies. What Donald Trump did is he set up everybody in the Capitol because he would not allow, and we're going to learn more about this as we conduct a full investigation, but it looks like he did not allow any, and let's put the National Guard in that bucket and the U.S. military. He didn't allow any police force to provide security or protection for the U.S. Capitol that day. And we all knew that the Capitol Police would be instantly and easily overrun by that mob. And Donald Trump wanted it that way. He set them up. Now, there were some local DC MPD officers, including Mike Fanone, who was the one who has been seen on an endless loop. We call him Spider-Man because he's got a spider web tattooed on his neck. He was the one who has given interviews saying they were taking my my pepper spray from me. They were taking my baton. They took my ammo clip, and they were trying to take my gun so they could kill me with it. And I just start yelling, I've got kids. I've got kids. I worked murder cases with Mike Fanone. He's been on MPD for more than 20 years. He's a good man. And to see what they did to him and the other police officers, not all of whom survived, you know, to the extent the Republican Party ever wants to, bill themselves as supporting law enforcement, nonsense. Nonsense. Yeah, in a very real sense,
So,
Donald Trump set them up for this to happen.
So you've obviously done a lot of jury trials. You know how to persuade jurors. That's one of your skills, is to connect with jurors on a personal level. Here we've got jurors who actually witnessed this. And my sense of it is one of the strategies of the House impeachment managers was to put those members back in the horrors of that day. Do you think that was a helpful strategy? And do you think it could change minds? I mean, Angus King was on MSNBC, your network, and said, listen, there was at least one of my colleagues, a Republican senator who's been 100% Trump, that said during a break, I hope voters are watching this. I hope voters are watching this. Kind of a little glimmer of, yeah, this scares me. This feels bad. Do you think this could change? And if we're in this moment, this is a follow-up question. If you were on the team and we have, there's another day, somebody asked how many more days, there's 8 more hours for Democrats, then we'll have 16 hours of the Republican lawyers, the Trump lawyers. What would you want to do now with this moment that you have right now in the midst of this trial?
Well, let me start with what I would do and then what I suspect the jurors will do. A lot of air quotes going on today. So first of all, I tried more than 50 murder cases in local DC Superior Court, separate and apart from my RICO trials in federal court. And I will say one of the marquee witnesses in every single murder trial was a family member of the victim, ordinarily the mother or the spouse of the decedent. Now, we both know, Kim, because you were a prosecutor, trials are all about the facts and the law, and you can't appeal to the emotions of the jurors unless it's really for a proper reason, unless it's sanctioned by the court. And but we are permitted to bring a family member of the decedent in, because among other things in a murder case, we have to prove the identity of the victim because we have charged the homicide of a particular person. And we get a good bit of leeway in discussing who the victim was. And that testimony comes through the victim's family member. That is always one of the most powerful moments in a murder trial. I'm a little concerned that even though we have all of this great oration by the House managers, we have wonderful video footage, I would like to see some victims. I would like to see some surviving family members of people who were killed that day, because that also drives home the horror, the reality, the loss that is a result of Donald Trump inspiring and inciting this attack on the Capitol. That's one of the things I wish we would see, and I don't know that we're going to, and I still can't fathom why they wouldn't call witnesses. With respect to the jurors, here's the problem. The fix is in this case, because in a jury trial, again, this is nothing like a jury trial, you have fair, independent, sort of uninvolved people who sit as jurors in the case. They have no stake in the outcome. In court instructs them on the. We have jurors who are going to decide this case for political reasons. Not to mention, the jurors are witnesses to the insurrection. They are victims of the insurrection. And in some instances, I believe they may be aiders and abettors to the insurrection, the cruises.
Well, that's what Hillary Clinton tweeted. Right, Hillary Clinton tweeted that said part of the problem is that they were part of it. But I can't help but see that some of them were moved emotionally or triggered by the drama of it. But I see, Yeah, they're invested in this, and it's unfortunate that they can't adhere to the oath they took the way your friends on the Capitol Police Force adhered to the oath that they took by putting their lives on the line, and some of them losing their lives to protect the United States Capitol.
Yeah, and when it comes to the defense presentation of yesterday, it was pitiful. It was rambling. It was, but here's the thing: those defense attorneys don't really need to convince the Republican members of the jury. Now, I am the eternal optimist, to bordering on naive. I hope some of them will be moved. Yeah, I hope some of them will be moved. One was moved to vote. Cassidy was moved to vote that I guess we do have jurisdiction to try this. Of course we do. The Constitution says the Senate shall have the sole power to try all impeachments. There is no footnote or asterisk or caveat that says all unless the president is no longer in office. So, and then you have all sorts of historical precedent. We don't have court precedent because of the political question doctrine. All kinds of historical precedent, like the William Belknap case, Secretary of War, who resigned, and then they proceeded to an impeachment trial in the Senate. So we have historical precedent, which is the best we're going to get when it comes to a political question. So, but here's the thing: the defense attorneys, they didn't really need to bring a straight-faced argument or a persuasive argument. And I have said in the last couple of days, and I know you've heard this saying, but I have a twist on it. You always hear that when you have the facts on your side, pound on the facts. When you have the law on your side, pound on the law. When you have neither on your side, just pound on the table, make some noise, distract.
On the table.
I would add one more line. Yeah, I would add one more line to an impeachment trial. If you don't have the law on your facts, and you don't have the law on your side, you don't have the facts on your side, you can pound on partisanship and weakness and fear, because that is what motivates these Republicans. So the defense didn't even need to have a plausible argument because the fix is in. I've also said, listen, these defense attorneys could have come in and they could have argued, listen, it's the year is 2021. And numerically, that's an odd number, right? 2020 is an even number. 2022 will be an even numbered year. 2021 is an odd numbered year. And we all know the Constitution doesn't allow a Senate impeachment trial in an odd year. And the Republicans would have gone, oh, that's right. Oh, so I can avoid deciding this case on the merits because it's an odd year? Count me in. It's because they are weak.
Yeah.
They have no sense of patriotism. All they care about is continuing to curry favor with Donald Trump's base.
Let me ask you this, because I know you have to go. What do you think of the investigation that was announced today by prosecutors in Georgia around a potential election fraud, RICO, your expertise, conspiracy relating to Donald Trump's call to Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger asking him to find votes? Do you think that could have been emboldened by the events of today, number one? And two, tell our viewers what that's about and where do you think that could go?
Yeah, I mean, it's a crime under the Georgia state law to solicit an election official to change a vote count. That's what Donald Trump did. I would argue Lindsey Graham may have done it as well. But I have been waiting for these kind of state criminal investigations to be announced. Now, I will say ordinarily, law enforcement prosecutors don't announce investigations, but sometimes it's appropriate. So I think this is the first of many. And I can tell you, one of the things that we have done, I have a group called Team Justice. Just today, I finished drafting a letter that will be sent out to all 50 state attorneys general with signatory citizens of every state in the union by the thousands. And we are urging them to open criminal investigations into preventable coronavirus deaths in their state. Because 22 of my 30 years, Kim, I was handling murder cases, including as chief of homicide, responsible for overseeing all murder cases in DC. Based just on the public reporting, there is at a minimum negligent homicide or involuntary manslaughter liability for Donald Trump, for Mike Pence, for Jared Kushner and others, based on the way they, in the best of worlds, mismanaged the coronavirus pandemic, but they did so much more than just mismanage it. So we have that letter that we're preparing to send out with signatories from all 50 states, urging that the state attorneys general devote their law enforcement and their prosecutorial resources, into these investigations, because you can't let Donald Trump and company walk away from hundreds of thousands of preventable, avoidable coronavirus, of state investigations in the coming months.
Well, I'm glad you're on Team Justice. I feel better. I can sleep better at night with Glenn Kirschner on the job. And I'm sure we'll talk again. Thank you so much, Glenn, for taking your time tonight to get the basics out on the table. And we'll see you on air, I'm sure.
Yeah, great to be with you, Kim. Thanks.
Yeah, this is Kim Wehle, Simple Politics. Good night, everybody. Thanks for watching.